Studies, people are getting it, but not much is known about long COVID. Studies are underway as to what it looks like, how exactly it impacts us, and it seems many people have questions about it. We did a social media call out as part of this program, and we garnered over 50 responses in the span of just one day. So many people have questions about what symptoms look like, and we spoke to one of them about his experiences 3 months post his COVID infection. Let's have a listen.
Well, I actually recovered from COVID-19 in around the middle of February. And then after about a week or two, I started to develop new symptoms, breathlessness, chest pains, heart palpitations, as well as several gastrointestinal issues. It got to an extent where I was afraid I was having like a heart attack. So I've actually been to the A&E 4 times just to get checked out. And besides that, day-to-day living, I don't go out as much anymore. If I do go out, it's best to have someone with me.
Oh, sounds serious. Steve, I can only imagine what Stefan is going through. The potential impact must be huge. What steps did he take next?
Yeah, so for him, it's extremely frustrating because it really has affected his day-to-day routines. He's had to work from home because with his job, he's actually usually on his feet most of the time. But because he's fearful that something might happen, so now he's sort of desk bound at home. And in fact, he's even afraid that he might lose his job because the bulk of his work requires him to normally be out and about. So he's gone for so many tests to check pretty much everything in his body, but most of the results have come back normal. And that's really the frustration when you can't sort of pinpoint exactly what it is that is wrong with you. And he feels at a loss because he can't seem to figure out just what is wrong with him. Something else interesting that we discovered, you often hear symptoms of long COVID as being things like, we've heard of fatigue, breathlessness, even brain fog. But now it seems some new symptoms are starting to emerge. Take a look.
I also have ringing in my ears. I have a back pain that recovered before COVID, and after COVID, my back pain came back stronger and even more painful.
Notably is the headache that kind of lingers on from time to time.
My stomach has just not been the same. I have constant bloating and discomfort, and I've had several rounds of food poisoning where my friends and family will be eating the same food and they'll be okay.
So as you can see, people really are experiencing different symptoms. In fact, one of them you may have noticed is our CNA colleague, Pearl. She asked about a fairly unusual symptom, gut issues. So many of us have been infected with COVID, including myself, but experience is different for each and every one of us. And I don't think I suffer from long COVID, quite fortunately, but what I found out is that it's really not so easy to diagnose.
Reactions to catching COVID in this sort of longer form of it. Well, how do doctors even diagnose long COVID?
Well, I guess first, in terms of definition, Singapore follows the UK's definition, right, where it's persistent symptoms that continue 12 weeks from your acute infection. But there generally isn't one single test that people can take to say, if you take this test, yes, you have long COVID. It's really this process of elimination. So for Stefan, whom you heard about earlier, what we did was we made him do a simple walk test to see how, his lungs were functioning, whether his body was, delivering oxygen efficiently, whether his heart was working right. And with this preliminary test, basically everything came back clear. And that's the frustration with a lot of people who say they have long COVID symptoms, but it's just not showing up in tests. So Stefan actually did an entire battery of tests, MRIs, brain scans, CT scans, and it was only after I think he was in his second or third round of deep specialist testing, where actually he got some sort of results to say that yes, there is some obstruction in his airway, some minimal scarring in his lungs. So I think therein lies the frustration that Steve mentioned earlier as well, that it's actually really, really difficult to diagnose. It's this process of elimination where doctors basically say, if you have this, let me check it out to see if it's not something else. Before maybe they can say, yes, this is long COVID.